Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pieczynski and Kerns Sports Show. Today, we're going to start off talking with the 2015 World Series with the Mets and the Royals. All right, Matt, what do you have for us?
Yeah, game one tonight, this World Series. It's Edinson Volquez and Matt Harvey, the pitching matchup tonight. Volquez was 13-9 on the year with a 3.55 ERA. Harvey 13-8, but he almost had full run lower ERA, 2.71. Volquez had a lot of wins, but he also got a lot of run support. Harvey didn't get much in particular, especially throughout the first half of the year, but they acquired Cespedes and Juan Uribe at the trade deadline and gave help out the Mets in general, but certainly helped out Harvey. Harvey's done well this postseason. He's a 2.84 ERA at 12.2 innings pitched. He's allowed just 4 earned runs. Edinson Volquez has struggled a little bit this postseason. He has a 6.56 ERA. Hasn't pitched great. He's had some run support. He got one win in a game which he allowed, I believe, 5 earned runs. Yeah, 5 earned runs. Oh no, excuse me, I'm reading that wrong. 0 earned runs. My bad.
0 earned runs.
I fucked that up, dudes. I'm sorry.
Yep, that's all good.
Yeah.
So, moving into this series, which team do you think comes in with the greatest chance to win it?
The Mets, just because they're starting pitching. I think a lot of people favor the Royals bullpen, but really, this Mets bullpen is... They're not better than the Royals bullpen, but
They're just solid.
Yeah, exactly. It matches up well in their favor. Jerry's Familia is 5 of 5 in save opportunities. He has not allowed a single run in this postseason. Really, with all the pitchers, I mean, they have Bartolo Colon back there, Jonathan Neese, Tyler Clippard. So they have all of these pitchers that they can use after their dominant starting pitching. And they really have done a great job, particularly Bartolo Colon. I look at him. He's been a good starting pitcher for the Mets these last few years, but he's done a good job in his role in the bullpen, setting it up for closer Jerry's Familia.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at the Mets, pitching is definitely the biggest story to their success. However, when you look at their hitting, their lineup isn't anything like, I'd say, special, but they've had a lot of guys come up big in the postseason. Just look at Daniel Murphy.
Yeah, Daniel Murphy has been big for them. This postseason, he has 7 home runs. He's had 6 in a row thus far. The last 6 games, he hit a home run. I think the biggest thing, though, the biggest storyline here is the amount of time that the Mets have had off. I think as a hitter in Daniel Murphy, that's kind of disrupting because you're used to playing every day, every other day, and then all of a sudden you have this big break in between games. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how Daniel Murphy does without having swung a bat in a live action, at least in a game format these last few days.
Yeah, and you look at that series when they face the Cubs, you could actually take that consideration for the Cubs because the Cubs are coming off a little bit of a rest, and then the Mets are coming in straight off a 5-game series.
Yeah, I agree with you too. The Mets really were rolling and kind of a gap in games, so we'll see if they can keep that momentum going. I sure hope so. I'd like to see the Mets win this World Series and get their first World Series ring since 1986.
I'm going to be opposite on this one. I hope the Royals end up winning this one just because of getting so close last year. And they have a great young team, a lot of good players who are looking to get their ring this year.
Yeah, really 1 through 9, they're solid. You look at guys like Kendrys Morales, the DH. Intriguing story here, though, is what are they going to do with Kendrys Morales once they go to Citi Field for games 3, 4, 5, because that's a National League ballpark. The hitters, or the pitchers, hit, of course. They could move him to first, but there you have Eric Hosmer, so I don't think you want to replace him with Hosmer. You could move him to right, perhaps, and replace him with Alex Rios. So it'll be interesting to see what manager Ned Yost does with Morales, because he's been good this postseason. He brings the Royals some good power. I mean, they really have power all throughout the lineup, but specifically Morales, he has pretty good power, probably the best power on the team in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're looking at a player, who would you say would be your ex-player for the series? The guy who's going to make the biggest impact, whether it's obvious or if it's just kind of behind the scenes. Who do you think is going to be that guy for either team?
Well, I think you got to go with Jacob deGrom of the Mets. I believe he's going to pitch Game 2. I think he's lined up to pitch Game 2. He's been good this postseason, real good, excuse me. He has a 1.80 ERA. He is 3-0. He hasn't lost a game. He pitched really good against both the Cubs and the Dodgers. He's on fire right now. If they can get this going, and if the Mets can just even out the series 1-1 going into New York, I think the odds are in their favor. They have Harvey tonight, and then deGrom tomorrow, though. So, I mean, you're looking at 2-0. I just think the pitching matchup definitely favors the Mets, especially early on. And then once you get to New York, you're back at home and you don't have the best guys going for you. Certainly Steven Matz, he's their number 4 pitcher, but you're at home, so you have that momentum. So I really do think this sets up well for the Mets. But specifically, Jacob deGrom would be my X factor, just because how well he's pitching, and to see if he can keep his dominance rolling through the World Series and against a really good Kansas City lineup.
My X factor for this series, I am going to go with Curtis Granderson of the Mets. When you look at Curtis Granderson, when you look at the Mets lineup this season, this postseason, in this series, they need to be able to play small ball against the Royals. Because this Royals pitching, it's definitely better than what they've faced. They aren't really going to be in a hitter's ballpark in this series. So don't really expect the Mets to go off with home runs like they've been in the past series against the Cubs. But look for Curtis Granderson. When you're looking at Granderson, he's hitting .303 right now in the postseason. He has 7 RBIs and 4 runs. He's definitely been one of the key producers for the Mets in this postseason so far, and I think the thing that makes him the X factor is the fact that he can steal bases. He's still got that speed. He's a player who can play small ball, and it will greatly help the Mets if he can get on starting innings. He's that kind of player, and I believe he's going to prove to be a key for the Mets in this series.
Yeah, and on top of that, he also is probably their best base runner. I think he's 3 of 4 in stealing bases this postseason. So he's definitely all around a solid player, and he's got speed. Something the Mets need. The Royals like to steal bases, and specifically Lorenzo Cain. He's their best base runner. The Mets are definitely going to need to get an edge there once they get runners in on first, looking to get ahead and get in scoring position. So definitely an opportunistic Granderson who can steal bases for you will be a plus for the Mets.
Yeah, definitely. So final predictions. Who do you think's going to win and how many games?
I got to go Mets in 6. I like the Mets. I just think pitching, when it comes down to it, starting pitching gets it done. They have a bullpen that matches up well, too. Not as good as the Royals, but it's still up there. Look, 1 through 9, is their lineup as good as the Royals? Probably not, but they have guys that can play. They have ballers. These guys, you look, Travis d'Arnaud, Curtis Granderson, as you mentioned, really Wilmer Flores, David Wright, Daniel Murphy. So they have a bunch of guys that can just go out there every night, and they're going to give it their all. So manager Terry Collins has got to be happy and optimistic about his chances in this series.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go Mets in 7 in this one. I just think they're going to be able to outpitch the Royals in this series and withstand any sort of offensive attack. They've got an offense that can produce runs, so I think it just comes down to pitching in this series.
Very well, very well.
All right, moving on to our next topic, I'm going to go over some of MLS action. They had, I believe it was decision day on Sunday, I believe. So on decision day, the San Jose Earthquakes were looking to squeak into the playoffs, but the Dallas I believe FC Dallas, the best team in the Western Conference so far this year, was able to beat them, and then Montreal Impact was able to. No, wait, no, not Montreal Impact. Sporting Kansas City was able to sneak in. So, so far, the top teams in the conference are New York Red Bulls and FC Dallas. The MLS postseason looked like it might be a good one. The top teams, you can see that they are definitely amongst the top of their conferences by looking at goal differential. You have New York Red Bull with 19 goal differential, and then FC Dallas with a 13. I think the MLS Cup will kind of come down to New York Red Bulls and the Vancouver Whitecaps. I just don't see FC Dallas pulling it off this year. I see a upset team from the Western Conference getting in, and then I'm going to take Red Bull in the finals. So that does it with our MLS coverage. Moving on, we're going to talk about some NBA games. So, Matt, starting off, what are the big games in the NBA to start off? Regular season finally starting up. We have the Bulls and Cavaliers.
Yeah, that one's from Chicago tonight. There's 3 games. That's the middle one, or that's the 5 o'clock one, excuse me. LeBron said he's ready. I mean, he's played so much basketball these last few years. You'd imagine some wear and tear on him. Yeah, I like Cleveland in this game. They're the road team, but it doesn't matter. They're my number 1 seed in the East this year. I like what the healthy Cleveland team can do. This is a good Chicago team. I believe they're not going to have Derrick Rose though in tonight's starting lineup, but
I think they said he might be available off the bench or something. I'm not sure. I think he might be limited tonight. So you're going Cleveland in this one?
Yeah, but as for Rose, he won't start though, correct?
I believe so.
Okay.
So I'm going Cleveland in that one too. We have another game, Detroit and Atlanta in Atlanta.
Well, this is a better Detroit team. I mean, certainly they started the season so rough last year. It was a bumpy ride all the way along, but they kind of turned it around and they started playing better basketball at the halfway mark, All-Star game, excuse me. But I'm going to go Atlanta here. They have some good pieces, including Al Jefferson. I like what this Atlanta team can do. I mean, they don't really have a whole lot of stars, but they just kind of all play quality basketball. I expect Atlanta to win this game tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to go Atlanta Hawks in this one too. When you look at it, they've got a lot of the pieces they had there last year, giving them a run to, I believe they made it, what was it, right before? Was it conference semifinals, conference finals? I think
Conference finals. And by the way, Al Jefferson is not on the Hawks. He's on Charlotte, excuse me.
Yeah. Well, Atlanta did post one of the best records in the Eastern Conference last year. Detroit is definitely a team on the rise. I just think Atlanta's still got those key pieces, and they'll be able to fend off Detroit to start the season. Next game we have New Orleans Pelicans versus the Golden State Warriors on the road in Golden State.
Yeah, in Oakland, I'm going to go Golden State. New Orleans was good last year. This is a rematch of last year's first round matchup. I think Anthony Davis will win MVP, but tonight I'm going to go Golden State.
I'm going to go Golden State too, just because Golden State, they have all their pieces still. There's just simply the better team than New Orleans. And I disagree with you on Anthony Davis winning MVP. I do not think he is better than Cousins even. I think he's a great player,
Really?
but I do not think he's at that level yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think both sides of the ball, especially offensively. I mean, Cousins is good, really good offensively. But I don't know. I go Davis with that, but we'll see.
Yeah, so that does it for the first games of the season for NBA.